Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Thank you for coming this afternoon to this press conference. The main intent of the calling of this press conference is to inform the members of our country, people of Fiji, that we are declaring a natural disaster as a result of Tropical Cyclone Harold. As we all know, on Sunday, the 12th of April, 2020, upon the advice of the Emergency Committee of the National Disaster Management Council, government has declared Tropical Cyclone Harold as a state of natural disasters for a few select areas in Fiji, in 3 of our divisions. In the Eastern Division, this is being declared for Suvavou and for Southern Lao. For the Central Division, it is being declared for Tailevu North, Korvo, Nosori, Nakasi, Mbenga, and Yanuva. And for the Western Division, the declaration of natural disaster is being declared for the districts of Nandarivatu, for Vatulele, the Mamanuza Group, the Esau Group, coastal communities in the Coral Coast, and along the Singatoka River in the Nandronga, Navosa province. This is to exercise the powers conferred on Cabinet by Section 7 of the Natural Disaster Management Act of 1998. Since the advent of Tropical Cyclone Harold, there has been a lot of activities that has been being undertaken by the National Disaster Management Office, and we have had to collect all the different government agencies to work together to respond to the effects of this cyclone on the people of our country. We've had people in evacuation centers all across the country. Initially, there's quite a lot of these evacuation centers, but over time, the number has declined somewhat. But as of this morning, we still have around 66 active evacuation centers with 1,837 evacuees in the 3 divisions, Central, Western, and Eastern. And you realize we did have some people in evacuation centers in the Northern Division, but these have now closed, and the Northern Division is now committing its efforts to looking more at the effects of COVID-19 in Fiji. The Central Division has around 21 evacuation centers with 384 evacuees. The Western Division has 16 evacuation centers with 386 evacuees, while the Eastern Division has a total of 29 active evacuation centers with 1,067 evacuees. Today, we have started the distribution of food rations to the Central Division. The Western Division will start tomorrow, while the Eastern Division will be deployed from today. We have had a particular challenge in trying to address Tropical Cyclone Harold, because at the same time, we have the pandemic of COVID-19 with us. So in trying to address the issue of addressing Tropical Cyclone Harold, we have had to keep the policies that have been put in place with respect to COVID-19 in mind. We have the various divisions that we have in Fiji have already begun to conduct their initial damage assessments. This is conducted by the people on the ground. And in the Northern Division, this has been completed, and the other divisions are continuing with that exercise of conducting the initial damage assessments. We will continue to monitor the COVID-19 protocols in all of the evacuation centers that continue to exist all across the 3 divisions in which they exist in Fiji. Public safety is always going to be paramount and is going to be a top priority for government in our efforts to address this. What are we doing now? For deployment, as I speak today, various officers, the various teams from government that are moving down to Suvavou and to Southern Lao are currently in the staging area at RKS, Ratu Kandabulebo School in Londoni. We've had to make sure that everybody we are taking out to the islands, that none of these people is coming from the Suva lockdown area. We've had to source civil servants to go on these trips from the Western Division, from the Central Division, outside of the lockdown area. So from last night, the people that are moving to the boats have been moving last night, and they are all at the staging ground in Ratu Kandabulebo School, where the cargo is being put together and they're being transported down to Natovi. All the ships will be departing Natovi from later on this afternoon. And also, as people are assembling in the Toby, everybody is also being screened by the Ministry of Health to make sure that they are not going to take COVID-19 to the islands and that they are physically fit and capable to undertake the strenuous task that they will have to do over the next 14 days. For the deployment to Laos, we will be having 2 boats. The MV Ohana, which will be carrying officials, relief items and supplies to the lower southern Laos, including Onoe Laos, Watoa, Ongea, Fulanga, and Kambara. This boat is being loaded as I speak and will leave later on today. The MV Spirit of Love will also depart today, and it will cover Yasayasa Moala, including Matuku, Totoya, and Moala Island. As we speak, as I said, all the officials are getting ready to make sure that these boats leave on time. To make sure that we can address the issues on Kandavu, the MV Spirit of Harmony will be covering the Mbamba Deva of Kandavu. This will be distributing supplies, food rations, and the officials who will conduct the detailed damage assessments. They will also be leaving later on today. And the 4th boat that will be used is the MV Altruism, which will cover the Mbamba Tokalau of Kandavu, starting from Kavala and working its way down to Vunisea and down to Yahweh and the Tikina of Tavuki also. This boat will also be carrying relief supplies, food rations, and officials to carry out our detailed damage assessment. We have an initial damage assessment that is carried out by the officials, and this is then rechecked and verified by the detailed damage assessment that will include officials that we have on the ground in these islands, complemented by those that are coming across from Vitilevu. All these boats are expected to arrive into their destinations tomorrow, where our officers have been advised to prioritize the distributing of food and relief items to those that are affected. At the moment, our focus is on stabilizing the situation that we have on the ground. Make sure that people have adequate shelter, make sure that they can have the rations that they need to address their basic health needs and to address the immediate concerns that we have. Government has also planned its deployment out to the west. For the deployment to the west, the government vessel Votulawa, which is already berthed in Lotoka, will be carrying cargo to the Mamanudas and also to the Yasawa group, while the MV Seabus will carry officials who will conduct the detailed damage assessment. That part of the program will be carried out later on this week. For the islands in the Central Division, the MV Suvavou, which is also a government boat, will be covering Watulele, Benga, and Yanuda. Food rations, relief supplies, and officials will be leaving tomorrow to address these 3 islands. The deployment of all of these has been funded by the Prime Minister's Rehabilitation and Relief Fund. In addition, we would like to thank the Australian and New Zealand government who are also contributing towards this deployment. And this morning, we have begun to receive donations of 73 emergency response kits from the Rotary Fiji in collaboration with Rotary New Zealand, and a total of 250 emergency response kits are being deployed to Kandavu and Southern Laos. The response from government is a response of whole of government, and it works together with the CSOs and NGOs that are part of the various clusters that get involved during the times of disasters. The officers who are part of this deployment include members of the Fiji Military Forces, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, Itoke Affairs, Water Authority, Telecom Fiji Limited, Agriculture, Ministry of Education, Red Cross, Mineral Resources Department, Empower Pacific, Forestry, and the NDMO. These officers are going to be involved in damage assessment, ration distribution, and health treatment for those who need such assistance. The team will be deployed for 14 days, and we will provide more information once we receive this to keep the general public updated of the developments.